Hawkins and Alden, so that's the favorable. Okay. Hello? We're on. Okay. It's now 1:30, maybe 1:31. We'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. We do not have any public hearings this afternoon, nor this evening, of course, so we'll just jump right into the regular list of legislation. And I will ask that we take time on 1 through and including 5 time. And then moving on to 6. Number 6 is authorizing a conditional use to construct a mixed-use residential retail development at the northwest corner of the intersection of South Hawkins and Alden. This would be, I know the ward council person, Mr. Neal, had a community meeting out in that neighborhood area, listened to concerns, and I think we're prepared to move forward on this item. Mr. Neal, did you have any comments, or should I just ask for a favorable motion?
No, sir. No, I mean, you're right. Just favorable.
Okay, good. So I assume that's a favorable motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's a favorable motion. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, yes, Ms. Amobian. We're on item number 6. This is the...
Right, I know what we're talking about. I guess my question is, if we vote today, I think what I heard from the citizens at that meeting is that Mr. Tober will come back to, is that what you're planning to do, Mr. Neal? Have him come back and talk to his, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want to make sure.
Have the address, the issues that were brought up in that meeting addressed.
Okay.
Some of them have already been addressed, but yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, absolutely. Again, I'll ask all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll report that out favorable this evening. Assuming that would be voted on, we would then file item 7. So with that, I guess I'm going to ask for time on the balance of the agenda, and we'll move on to the new list of legislation. First item is 4, I do believe, and this is approving and confirming the appointment by Mayor Horrigan of Scott Rowland, Lauren Alexander, Greg Burke, Ellis Polk, Renee M. Need to the vacant Commercial or Industrial Building Appeals Board. Mr. Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. We are pleased to put forward for your consideration and confirmation 5 extremely qualified individuals to be the inaugural members of essentially the VBR board. You all recall that we worked with the City Council to pass really important legislation to create the vacant building registry to start to get after commercial and industrial properties that are blighting our neighborhoods. Part of that law created the board that you now see before you. So I'm pleased to report we have 4 of the 5 individuals here. So first we have Lauren Alexander. You have, by the way, their bioinformation. You should with your legislation. Lauren fulfills the requirement under the law that we have a representative, an Akron area realtor. Mr. Ellis Polk. Ellis is a retired arson investigator with Akron Fire Department, and just his accomplishments and certifications are too numerous to articulate, but they're in your packet. We have Mr. Greg Burke. Greg, in addition to having a successful career as a rubber worker and participated in a leadership role within his union, is captain of the Highland Park Block Watch and incredibly devoted to his community and in community volunteering. We also have Renee Need here. Renee is from First Energy. She works in economic development, and she fulfills the requirement under the law that we have someone with an economic development background on the VBR board. The 5th individual is Mr. Scott Rowland. If you recall, Mr. Rowland has served very well on the Board of Zoning Appeals for many years. Given that this is a brand new board and we are already going to have, and you'll be happy to hear this, we're going to have some properties John's going to want to get after pretty quickly. We wanted to make sure that we had someone with some expertise on serving on city boards and commissions there. So Scott agreed to leave the BZA and join this board for a period of time. So with that, I will stop. Mr. Valley, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy, and members of the Planning Committee. Yeah, we're pleased. Things are rolling right along, and this was one of the pieces of the puzzle to appoint the vacant building registration and appeals board. What we have done so far, middle of September, we sent out 305 letters to property owners that we know their properties are vacant, so we're kind of working through that process. Early September, we do have the registration and the ordinance online on the city's website, and we also have we've created a CSR for residents when they call into the 311 call center and report a vacant building register. Plus, we have it on our online service too. So we're pleased. This is that key ingredient that we need to get moving, and we're hoping to have some quick wins here in the next 4 to 6 weeks, where we can see some vacant commercial buildings finally being torn down.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Valley. This is very good. Is there questions or comments? Ms. Mobian?
Thank you for the update. So we have all of the abandoned commercial buildings listed that we know of in the city of Akron?
I would say no to that. We had a list of the 2015 thriving communities in the Akron Fire Department, and what we did with that list, we went out and we verified each and every one of them, and that's where we had our initial 305 letters that went out, but we know there's more. So we're starting that second phase. We have a group going out there looking, and we broke it down by ward. We're looking at like arterial collectors, the main thoroughfares, because that's where the biggest majority of them are. So we'll have round 2, so we'll have another letter going out here, hopefully mid to late November, on the second round of ones that we've identified.
So are you looking to citizens to help you identify abandoned buildings in their neighborhoods or wherever, whether they know they're commercial or not?
Oh,
then
yeah.
you would determine whether
We're
they are.
looking for any help we can get,
Okay.
through ward meetings, block watch meetings, 311 call center. But we actually have Department Neighborhood Assistance staff dedicated to a ward, and they're going to spend a couple days here in the next week or so to physically drive to figure out the others that we're not aware of at this point in time.
Okay. And then once we have this list, it sounds like you're notifying the owner of record that this building is abandoned. We want you to address it, and then you tell them about the fees that are associated with not doing it, or not. Can we have a copy of the letter that's going out?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've received half dozen checks already too. So,
Oh, you have?
yes, I'll get you a copy.
How much
for
is the
this evening.
total?
I think about $2,000 so far.
So we're going to use this money to pay for the time of the staff, or what?
It'll go into the VBR. It'll go in for the demolition of
Okay.
Demolition
Okay.
fund.
Okay, okay. Well, it sounds like you're moving right along. Thank you very much for your work. And thank you, those of you who are willing to do this work for us. Thank you very much.
Mr. Freeman?
I only know one of the 5, and that's one of the individuals. I only know one, but I can say that Mr. Burke is, of all the little community groups that we've had, his has been the most effective, and he knows how to keep a council person on his toes. So I anticipate good things out of this board. He shows well. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, suspend the rules. Is there a recommendation for suspension of the rules? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. The committee will report out a favorable recommendation with suspension of the rules this evening, and we'll vote on this item this evening. Thank you all for coming down this afternoon. You're welcome to come down tonight at 7 o'clock if you'd like. Thank you. And also thank you for serving and willing to do that. We have a good mix of people here, a good group of people with experience that is going to help our city tremendously with this legislation that we had passed, I don't know, about 6 months ago. So it's good to see it moving forward. Thank you. 5 is authorizing the sale of certain vacant city-owned properties pursuant to the city's Lot for Little program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. This is to be the sale of 2 lots. They would both be for side yard expansion. It's at our standard pricing.
Very good. Questions or comments? Consent okay?
That'd be fine.
Is there a recommendation for consent? Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. The ayes do have it. 6 is authorizing the sale of 860 Aberdeen Street, determining said property is not needed for public use.
Yes, this would be another lot sale, another side yard expansion at the same price. Consent agenda would be fine.
Okay, same price per square foot, our usual and typical sale price. Questions or comments? Thank you. Is there consent agenda recommendation? Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Sure, 6A. That was consent agenda, yes, thank you. Consent agenda was a recommendation. Vote on. 6A is, and this is very familiar, 6A is approving the expenditure of additional funds for mowing of publicly owned and privately owned lots. Mr.
I
Van.
understand there's a typo, but I honestly was just informed of it, so I'm not even
Yeah.
sure what the typo is.
Okay, yeah, this is, I mean, it looks as though the dollar amount and everything is the same. There really isn't a change. I know that this is important. We debated this and talked about it last week. Hoping a representative from our law department may be here, maybe not. I will, if it's okay with the committee and council, what I'll do is I will find out exactly what the typo was and report it out this evening to everyone whenever we go to vote on this. But I do know there's a sense of urgency from our discussions last week in terms of moving forward on this. So I'm going to ask, and I will, again, make sure everyone is aware of what the change is or what the typo was. So I would like to entertain a motion for a favorable, pardon? No, I just assumed that's what it was. It was the law department, I think. I haven't had an opportunity to call them just yet.
Mr. Chair, we'll make sure the law department gets you an answer on that
Yeah,
by
yeah,
tonight. But
that's-
it is, as far as I understand it, is a typo. There's no change to the former function of the original legislation.
Dollar amount's the same, pretty much everything looks the same, but sometimes legally, we got to make sure we're in bounds. And I assume that's what this is all about. So, and I will ask the law department again, and I will explain to all of council and committee this evening. We can even take temporary time on this if you'd like an answer before that. Yeah, it's the same as last week, basically just a typo.
I'd like to know, too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would greatly appreciate suspension of the rules once we do get you that information.
Yeah, this evening. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Neal.
Just, I remember our discussion on this. This is basically to bring us up to budget so we can cover this year's expenses. What I would like to do, because I know since I've been on council, we've made some progress, is if, and I know we're still in the middle of a contract, but if we can look at this early next year to see how we can better engage our communities. Mr. Valley, you and your group, you do a good job, but this is still an issue that comes to us. If we have a way of empowering communities to better maintain these lots, because now it's not just cutting with these vacant lots, there's dumping, there's other things that are taking place. And I think we can get more bang for our buck if we empower our neighborhoods and use some of this money to help them cut, maintain, basically oversee the lots altogether. So I'm just hoping that, you know, we can do that.
I'm happy to tell you that we did meet last week with law already for the 2019 program, because it's going to be here before we know it.
Right.
So we have started that conversation. We would like to see more and more nonprofits getting involved in this program because it seems to be working out.
Right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good, thank you. Is there a motion for Ms. Amovian?
And I'm just curious, I know that, based on what Mr. Neal is asking, that some people just take responsibility for the lot next to their homes because it makes your lot look so terrible with that grass growing. So if an individual takes upon himself or herself to just mow the lawn because they just want a nice, manicured lot next to them, there's no way now for us to pay them for doing that.
That is correct, but we do have a lot of individuals out there that do maintain vacant city properties adjacent to them.
Yeah, but what we're saying is that no matter how many you have, maybe they don't move fast enough or can't do them as quickly as needed. So,
That would not be part of this ordinance, it would not be included.
but yeah, I know that. But that's what you're talking about, Mr. Neal, essentially? Okay. Because part of the reason we went to selling these lots to neighbors is so that they take responsibility for whatever half they get. But we don't, and is there insurance that these nonprofits come with, or we provide insurance, or they provide
There's
their own?
insurance that the nonprofits have to have, plus we got to inspect their equipment. Their equipment's got to be satisfactory to...
They provide their own insurance, or we provide
They
insurance?
provide their own,
I
correct.
see. And if they cut the lawn without our awareness or paying them or hiring them, if anything should happen while they're mowing, is on them, is that
It's
what?
on them. And like I said, there are quite a few people out there that do maintain vacant city properties just because they know it's the right neighborly thing to do.
Yeah, okay, I see. Thank you.
Motion for suspension of rules with a favorable report.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Mr. Clerk, I would like to ask that on item number 4, Mr. Swirsky's name be added as a co-sponsor.
Number 4,
Yes, sir.
it was added at the time that we passed it, so it's an omission.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further. We're adjourned. Thank you.